Hello and welcome back to the final chapter of this epic journey into building the ultimate Supermax prison. We've completed step 1 and 2, leaving us with the final step: reduce and reform. Probably the most key step, because without structure, we have chaos. Let's take a look. So first thing was sorting out the regime, as it's currently set to its default run-of-the-mill regime you handed when you first start up, which is totally useless. That needs to change. I always attempt to provide a good amount of free time at both ends of the day, with around 3 to 4 hours of work to ensure we can fit all the relevant programs that we want these guys to take, which we'll cover a little bit later on. I also ensure there is between 2 to 3 hours of eat time, so all prisoners get a chance to eat, as there is always stragglers. Now that's out of the way, we need to set up the programs. These will work in tandem with our regime to get our prisoners on track to reach that sweet, sweet freedom. But with this, I did encounter a problem. I went with the meeting room, which does have some interesting programs to help rehabilitate prisoners, but through a bit of trial and error, found the education route was going to be a much better option. So we've got the regime down, we've got the programs in order, and gradually what we should see is all these prisoners needs slowly begin to disappear. But this is all well and good, and at this stage everything is working amazingly. Even go so far as to say that step 3 has actually been completed already. However, I want to push this and see just how far we can take this. So you guessed it, we need to expand. Starting with solitary, we just need more to cope with the increased amount of violent prisoners, especially with these super legendary ones. Solitary confinement is inevitable. Then it's all about designing our expansions so we get everything covered that we essentially should need to keep them relatively happy. However, I have a feeling that things aren't going to play out quite like I'm envisioning right now, but let's just do it anyway. What's the worst that could happen? If we can keep things like this, then I definitely say that's a win for us, but we won't know until it's done. So let's get building. And here we are. After a considerable amount of time, we've expanded to even greater numbers, and the cash is just absolutely rolling in right now. But why should we stop here? Let's take this even further. Ta-da! Now we are talking an ultimate maximum security prison. With a maximum capacity of 600 prisoners and a ridiculous 100k per day income, I say this is an amazing success. But there has been a drawback to this epic creation, and that is, to put it quite simply, all prisoners are miserable. Yep, pretty much every prisoner, with the exception of a few, are beyond not impressed by this absolutely massive prison. But the regime is more than generous. The facilities are absolutely top-notch. So what is the reason why they are so miserable? So, as my prison was expanding alongside the prisoner count, more prisoners started misbehaving, which then led to more solitary confinement cells being needed, which created a backlog of prisoners waiting and not being able to satisfy their needs, which led to more riots, more frustration, and the cycle just continued on and on and on. And by the time that I realized this, it was too late. So I would say increase your population slowly, and you should be able to manage it. But all in all, I'd say for the most part, this is an ultimate prison, and happy with the results. If you liked it too, then drop us a like, or not, leave a comment on what you would have done differently. But all 3 steps in my eyes that we set out to achieve have been completed, and the ultimate prison objective has been done. And despite the misery, I am happy with the ridiculously small fortune that we have made in doing from this. So thanks again, and I'll see you next time.